Hey everybody, I'm Brian with Fort Knox Company, and in this video I'm going to show you how to tint some stucco with some of this Quikrete liquid tint. And I'll show you guys there's another way we can do it with some powder, but in this video we're going to be using their liquid dye. It's a brown dye, and we're going to see what it looks like when we mix the stucco and then add the Quikrete liquid dye, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it dries. I'm going to be applying it to this interior of a fireplace right here. It's a pretty big fireplace, so I'm not too worried about the heat affecting the stucco. I've had a couple fires in there already, and the walls and stuff actually really didn't get too hot, but I do not like that cinder block look. So I'm gonna do some stucco finish on the inside, and I wanted it to kind of have a brown tone similar to the bench seat or the rock that's actually up on the fireplace. So in this video, we're gonna tint the stucco, and it's just another way that you can color your stucco before you apply it. I'll show you a little bit of how I apply it and a technique to get that nice smooth finish at the end. All right, so let's mix that stucco. So here's a quick look at where we're starting. Right now the inside of the fireplace is just bare cinder block, and we want to have that stucco finish look. My main goal is just to not have that brick look. We're going to be using this cement color from Quikrete. We're just going to be adding it to our Quikrete pre-mixed stucco. You can see it's the commercial grade stucco. All you have to do is add water. There are directions on the bag on exactly how much water to add, but I kind of do it to eye. I'm gonna start adding some water to it. And I usually kind of mix this to eye. I will get a certain consistency where it's like a little bit of a smooth peanut buttery feel. What do you think, buddy? No, we don't need any rocks in there. Nope. Don't do it. Nope. Don't do it. Okay, go ahead. So like I said, I just kind of mix it to be a smooth peanut butter kind of texture, but really I make sure it's a little bit moist, a little bit wetter than I would like to work with, just because of the Las Vegas weather. It is really hot, and this stuff will dry up fast. So I make it a little wet, knowing that it's gonna have to be able to have a longer work time. So I start with what they say on the bag, and then I kind of add a little bit more. We're just mixing in the dye, and something I learned really quick is that this stuff doesn't mix in very fast. I kind of thought it would be just like cooking, and it just kind of blends right in, and it disperses evenly. But actually you need to really work this thing and spend some time making sure that it's evenly mixed. I found certain areas had no mix in it and other areas had concentration. So just make sure you mix it well, and then you can kind of go through it. I do this with the trowel just to make sure there's no spots that didn't get it, and then we can get ready to start applying the stuff. But I kind of do a once over by hand just to make sure nothing's stuck in the corners and we don't have any gray. Now that we have everything mixed, we can grab our hawk. I definitely recommend investing in one of these. It's a 13 by 13 hawk. At first I didn't think I'd need one of these, but I'll show you some of the techniques on how to apply the stucco. It's definitely a necessity. A little trowel to help you do some things by hand if you need to mix it or help get it on the hawk. But I also use my flat trowel to get a material on the hawk as well. But we can go ahead and load up our hawk, and then we can get ready to start applying this thing into the fireplace. Like I said, I can use my trowel to either load the hawk, or I can just use my little spade pointed trowel. But we load up our hawk, and this is the first method that I started with, not knowing any better. I didn't really do much research. I knew enough, and I'd done some small stucco jobs, but this is how I did it. I would load it on my trowel, and then I would just kind of apply it, accepting the fact that some of the material was gonna fall down, and about 80% of it was sticking on the surface. As long as the material, the stucco that you have mixed, is wet enough, it should be gripping to the dry cinder block. But again, this just took too long. You can see in here, it's just, it takes probably about a minute or two just to get rid of all the material on one hawk worth of stucco. and I'm dropping a lot of it. It was very frustrating, and at this rate, I felt like it was going to take forever. But I stuck with it, and I just kind of went through with whatever I had pulled on the hawk, and I like to kind of take the material that falls and kind of use it at the base. And this just isn't the best, but it does work. Just takes some time. So this is just a little bit sped up video again, just kind of doing that first method. And I quickly learned that this was not going to work for me, mainly because the material was drying out faster than I could apply it. So I thought there's got to be a better way. So here we have the push and smush. I'm just joking. I don't think that's actually what it's called, but really, you just push the material right off the hawk. You keep the hawk right up against the block wall or whatever you're applying it to, and anything that falls down is caught back on the hawk. And then you can just push it right up and smear it and press it on the material or the wall that you're applying it to. And that's real time. It only took 15-20 seconds to apply a full hawk's worth. Once you get really good at this, you can burn through your material really fast, and you can get everything up on the wall before it dries. This is a look at the material that I did with the first method, and I let it sit for a minute so that it started to dry and firm up, because what I'm going to show you next is a method on how to actually smooth it out. Is that your sponge?
Yeah.
Looking good so far. So you're going to take your tiling sponge or your grout sponge, get it wet, wring it out about 50%. You don't want it too dry, but one thing I learned with doing this is that you do need some moisture left in that sponge. And then you're just going to kind of brush it along the surface. You can see the texture of the surface and the look of it start to change. It almost feels like it pulls out the sand that's in the grout. In the stucco. And it gives it a whole different look. And this stucco right here is dried for a little bit, so it's going to take a little bit more elbow grease, but you can see as it starts to smooth out those edges. So then you just keep rinsing and repeating. You're not so much worried about the dirty water as you are the moisture in the sponge. You can use this technique on drywall as well. If you actually read the drywall mud instructions, it says to use a wet sponge to help smooth out the seams and joints. This is the same method and idea behind smoothing out this stucco. This is one way to get that Spanish style smooth stucco. They have a couple different terms and names for it, but really I'm just trying to smooth out all of those trowel marks and have some type of uniform look and blend it all in. This also blends in each different section that I did, even though they were applied at different times. This is a little better look at what it is after you do that texture and that change, and then what it was before. You can see a lot of heavy trowel marks. It's very uneven, and then on this side it starts to smooth out. I'll probably have to go over it one more time, but this is just once over, and it starts to kind of really blend everything in and gives you the more finished look that we're going for, just with the wet sponge. So this is after I've done it to the back wall as well, and it really starts making things look nice. This one came out a little bit better because I worked it quicker before the material had time to dry, so it didn't take as much work with the sponge. These walls I'll have to go back over again with a wetter sponge so that it puts some moisture back into the material and softens it up a little bit, and then I can get a smoother look. But overall, it came out really nice. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do, and it's something that you can definitely do yourself. All it takes is, a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of trial and error, but you can obtain this type of finished look with just a wet sponge. And I'll take you around the back here on my very first attempt at this. Not too bad. This is the actual back side of the fireplace, and you can see this is just one coat of stucco. It's about 1/2 inch thick, and I hit it with a wet sponge, and it really blended everything in nicely. I did this as a test run just to kind of see how it would withstand a few weeks out in the sun and the heat out here, and I don't have any cracks, and everything looks very uniform. So I'll eventually hit this with some stucco paint and finish it all up to tie in with the house. here's a look at the finished product, the beautiful stone and stucco finish on the outdoor fireplace. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. It definitely helps me out and I appreciate it. If you have any other questions about the electrical videos that I do or the other stucco videos that I have or anything else, just let me know in those comments. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next build.